The individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go.
Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. It's Wednesday night, and this is the Journey Radio Show. I'm your host, Jen Cruz, and we're showing up as the She-Squatchers. So I've got my trusty teammate, Jena Grover, on the line. Hey, Jena, are you there?
I am here, and ooh, I'm so excited to be here for tonight's guest.
I am too. You know, it's really fun. We get to bring our friends on the show and get to chat with them, and we haven't seen this friend for a while. We've got Alex Bob coming on the show tonight. So sometimes people call him Bigfoot Bob, and he's a paranormal investigator and Bigfoot researcher. I think he also investigates other cryptids as well, down south and way down there in Alabama. And forgive my accent, I'm not as good as accents as Jena is. She's really good at that. So let's not delay any further. We've known Alex for a while. We speak at Bigfoot events, and Alex does too. So we get to see him on a semi-regular basis. So hey, Alex, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. How are y'all doing?
We're good. We're good. I was gonna tell you before we started the show, but the other day I woke up and you were on my TV.
Oh, nice.
Wow. That's like the best pickup line I ever heard.
I turned over and I just kind of looked at the TV that was on, and I blinked a couple of times, and I'm like, that sure does look like Alex. And then I looked a little harder, and I'm like, I think that is Alex.
On Amazon for Madhouse?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, you were investigating some location, and you were doing some things with the other you met other investigators at a location, and you were doing a ceremony that they were not sure about. That's where I came in on.
We did the basically a calling of the coroners. They were a little bit worried about it, but once I explained it to them and once we did it, it definitely made for an interesting night. And some of the things that were happening there that we didn't catch on film too were very strange. And it was actually happening outside the building where we did, the calling of the coroners, the most of that little thing. So, but yeah, that was our debut documentary for our little production crew. We started Seventh Circle, and we had never met each other before, 4 friends, and we all drove to this building and filmed for a few nights, and it was great.
It was definitely an interesting show when I saw of it, and if you could just give the title out there so people could look it up after the show, that would be great.
Oh yeah, it's Madhouse, a paranormal documentary, and you can find it on Amazon Prime and VidiSpace as well.
Awesome. So you guys should check that out, because I woke up and there he was. I'm like, hey, that kind of looks like Alex.
It's funny, we've actually had random people message us, people I haven't talked to in years. They message me and they're like, hey man, you popped up on Amazon, and I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That is very cool. Very cool.
Thank
so
you.
I gotta know, what came first for you, paranormal investigating or cryptozoology?
Yeah, so ever since I was a kid, I pretty much had an interest in kind of a wide range of that strange phenomena. I was into UFOs and cryptids and spirits. And I think it was a mix of the experiences I had when I was a kid that kind of led me in that direction. One of my first, I guess I would consider it a paranormal experience, was when I was about 10 years old. I remember I was laying in bed. Sorry for my cat. I'm really sorry. I was laying in bed, I looked up and I saw a man sitting in my rocking chair in my room, and I felt comfortable around this man that I saw. I think it might have been my grandfather on my mom's side who I never met, like coming to visit me. And I stood up out of my bed. I walked over to the chair, and I sat. I tried to sit on his lap, and I just kind of like hit the chair with a thud. And that's when I was like, realized that no one was there, and like I was just wondering what I had seen. Um, and then onward from there, I had a really strange experience where I was out in my dad's backyard, and I was looking up at the trees, and I remember I saw this light come down to the top of the trees, and it was like the brightest light that I've ever seen. And I remember I walked up to like the base of the trees, and I was like looking up at it, and the light just kind of like came down and engulfed me. And then that's like all I remember from that memory. And then like with cryptids, I just remember always looking out the window, like we'd be driving around, and I was a kid just looking out the window wanting to see like a werewolf or a Bigfoot come out of the woods and like cross the road, and things like that. So just an interest in all those things. And as I got older, I through hiked the Appalachian Trail. That definitely played a key role in the cryptids, learning about the different cryptids of the Appalachian Mountains as I was hiking them, and hearing legends and stories. So that was really cool. And yeah, so that kind of led me up to where I am now.
Oh, very cool. And I know you also have like a radio show. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I haven't been quite as active on there lately because of my new job and everything, but I still plan on doing more shows. I have, I think, over 40 episodes now. And it's the Spectral Wolfpack Show, which is also the name of my other YouTube channel. I have 2 YouTube channels, and then the radio show is on Spreaker, the Spectral Wolfpack Show, where I interview guests as well and just talk all different subjects of the paranormal and cryptids. And then my YouTube channel, Spectral Wolfpack, is my paranormal channel, and Bigfoot Bob is my Bigfoot channel. I decided to kind of put those 2 separate. Just, sometimes I still upload Bigfoot content on the paranormal channel as well.
Nice. So I gotta tell you, last year in October, we were at the big Minnesota Paracon in Minnesota, and as the She-Squatchers, and some ladies came up to our table so excited to meet us, and they heard about us through you, watching your YouTube channel. Apparently you had uploaded some video or something of us from, I think, in Virginia or Kentucky.
That's awesome.
Kentucky, probably.
I'm not sure. I can't remember, but I have. I think it was from Kentucky when we were at CryptidCon, right? You were at CryptidCon, weren't you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm getting all my conventions and things mixed up right now, like because I put up Mothman Fest and CryptidCon. I try to do a little vlog whenever I go to a conference because it's just a lot of fun and everything. But that's awesome.
Yeah. So it was like, she's like, we heard about you from Bigfoot Bob. We're like, what? He doesn't live around here. That was kind of funny. That's awesome. You're getting around, buddy. You sure are. And
yeah.
And I just want to give you a formal congratulations. Because, Jenna, I'm not sure if you know this, but Alex just got married recently.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So you've got your whole life ahead of you now with a partner. You can never make your own decisions again. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. It'll be wonderful. Congratulations.
Ask Jenna how long she's been engaged.
How long?
Well, we've been together for 17 years. I guess I've been engaged for about 15, 16. I love him. We know we're together, forever. But
that's awesome. I mean, hey.
I don't need no stinking paper.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we went and got married in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I don't know if y'all have ever been there, but really awesome town with a lot of crazy history involving like the mafia and things like that, and super haunted, like the whole town, like everywhere. Like we stayed in an Airbnb and had some really crazy experiences there, and I caught some things on film there too, like something messing with my camera, like turn the night shot off, because I had my camera sitting in the front room. We were sitting in the bedroom listening to something like, sounded like something was walking up and down the stairs, and our dog, we had our little dog Gemma with us, and we've never heard her growl, and she was growling this night. And then my wife is really sensitive, and she did not like that place. Like something, we felt like something didn't want us to be there, and was kind of, it was probably because we just came in, we didn't even introduce ourselves or anything. We were just kind of threw all our stuff in there, and then we're staying at their house. So they might have been like, who are these people? But, and then the dog and everything, I don't know, but it was an interesting wedding trip. My wife wasn't expecting it to be like that. So, and
well, you've got to tell her thank you for giving you up tonight. I'm sure being a newly married person, you're not wanting to go out on evenings quite yet, but yeah, definitely. Well, it's so wonderful to have you here with us tonight. I can't wait to hear all about everything you have to say. So,
well, and I want to know, we're going to be seeing Alex in just a couple weeks at, was it 3 weeks away now, I think, till the actual event. It's 2 weeks till we leave, but 3 weeks till the event. Because we're going to do some squatching all the way there. Ha, ha, ha. Nice. Taking our time getting there. But when we're going to be at the ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference on June 29th, and Alex Bob is also speaking there. So I'm wondering, are you bringing your wife so we get to meet her?
Yeah. As of now, she is planning on coming. She does tarot readings, so she's probably going to come and do that, and just come hang out as well, unless she has to work or something like that. But as of right now, she is coming. So awesome.
So y'all can come out and see all of us at that event in Waynesboro, Virginia at the end of the month. So come check it out. So we're all going to be there. That'll be fun. Anyway, so tell us about your I would like to hear your most exciting, what is the most mind-boggling thing that you have experienced?
One of my favorite things that happened in the last several years was a night that I went out to go camp in Talladega National Forest, which is a forest here that's like the whole forest is over 400,000 acres. I was in a part that's north of Interstate 65, kind of near, or actually this time I was south of 65 near this place called High Falls. And I went out just to camp and relax. Like I had been doing a lot of paranormal investigating and working, and I just wanted to go out and relax and like take a night and just chill. And I brought my friend and my dog with me, and we went out. Sorry about my cat. Oh my gosh. They like to be part of the cast as well. So I went out, and I remember we got there, and this part is kind of important for something that happened later in the story, but I remember I was like joking about there being like a witch out in the woods, and I like played a prank on my friend where I went out to get firewood, and then I like hid behind a tree, and they started like calling out my name and getting kind of freaked out, and then I like jumped out and scared them, and anyway, so we had laid down in the tent, and my dog laid down with us, and we were just kind of relaxing, and our fire had died down. And then my dog started barking, and I looked up out of the tent, and I saw these two like blue strobing lights, like a light blue strobe light, like weaving through the trees really fast and like coming toward our tent. And my dog's barking at them. One of them flies right up to the side of the tent and like lands on the ground. And I could see like these like, it looked like butterfly wings, but like clear, and it had like dimmed its blue light down. And I remember I like pointed at it, and I was like, there it is. And it like darted off, and they flew, and both of them flew off into the forest. So we were like, what was that? Like, this is crazy. Like some kind of like insect or something. Like we didn't really know at the time like what we were seeing. So So then a couple hours later, the dog started barking again. At this point, I had like dozed off. My friend like wakes me up, the dog's barking, and I look out of the tent, and there's like 6 of these things just like hovering outside of the tent, and just like strobing, like this blue strobe light hovering outside of our tent. And I remember I felt like this strange, like euphoric feeling. I was just like watching them, and I almost felt like I was dreaming, but we both saw it the next day. We were both like, what was that? That's crazy. So we went and did a bunch of research trying to figure out if there's like some insect we didn't know about that has the blue light, and we found nothing. We went to like a local metaphysical shop, and that the guy who owns it is a friend of mine, and he started talking about the Fae and things like that. So then fast forward a couple years later, I was actually doing one of my podcasts, and I was talking to a friend of mine who hikes that area all the time, and he started telling me about this lady who saw these like red lights out there in the same area. And then he told me about that there's a legend about this like witch that lived out there that they called like the fairy whisperer, and she supposedly lived in that High Falls area out there. So that kind of made me think about back to the time when I was joking about there being a witch out there, and then we saw these strange little fairies or whatever you want to call them. And then that was pretty much that story, and like that whole experience like will stick with me like forever. And it was one of those ones where I didn't have my camera. Like it's just a personal experience that will always be with me. So that was one of my favorites.
The blue light.
I'm sorry, I have to say this. That is an awesome story. I'm so glad that you told that, and thank you.
Yeah.
So the blue light, was it bright blue, like neon light blue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like light, like similar to what people have described as like a will-o-wisp, like that blue, like almost white, but there's a blue tint to it. And I actually have this one book that I picked up afterward that it's called like Fairies and Elementals for Beginners. And there's a similar, like the picture on the front. The reason I bought it was because the picture on the front reminded me of them. It's like these really bright lights, like in the forest. And so like that was just an awesome experience, and I had never seen anything like that, even like doing the whole Appalachian Trail, being out there for 5.5 months, and I had never seen anything quite like that. So after that I started looking more into the Fae and things like that, and then I started reading about how there's some Fae that can turn into big monsters and things like that, and started to think more about connections to Bigfoot with those things, and hearing about how sometimes those lights will show up when the Bigfoot are around as well. So
we've experienced that.
Yeah.
We've experienced the lights on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
In different locations, and we have witnesses that, I mean, in one particular location, we had this green light like following us behind us above the treetops, and we didn't see it, but the people who were kind of watching us from a distance in the dark said that they could see when we would turn our little lights on, they could track where we were, but there was a green light above the trees that was following us, and they assumed that we saw it. And he said that it followed us for about 35 minutes because we had the guys drop us off and drive away. And we kept radios to call them back when we wanted them to come back for us, because we're like, you guys are stinting our experience here. You need to go. And girls only here. Yeah. So, and so they watched this green light. Well, then later, like the next day, we were at the restaurant, and one of the local ladies who worked there said that she has Bigfoot coming around her house, and she said, but first the green lights come, and they're green lights.
Yeah.
And she said that the locals say when the green lights appear, Bigfoot is near, because then you see Bigfoot. So that is very interesting. I'm wondering if there are other colors that are involved in that, or
Yeah,
We've
I
seen
mean,
also white ones.
the ones that I've heard here are the blue and the red ones, and then yeah, I've seen like white orbs and even black orbs. I saw a black orb in my house here, just like this black little shadow orb that flew around. And we actually live in a 116-year-old house that was part of the mining community here. And so there's all these old abandoned mines out in the woods back around here, and and you have legends of things being in those as well, like little gnomes and Tommy knockers and things like that. And there's also supposed to be this old like wheelhouse out in the woods. I'm gonna try to go find soon that people say they've had weird experiences at, and then like I actually am lucky to be able to go just a couple miles down the street, and like I've had some really awesome experiences out in the woods just a couple miles from my house. And as you can hear, we have every animal in the county right in my backyard and in my house. So.
Jena, you are on mute.
Again, sticking mute. No, I was just going to say maybe it's the Fae outside going,
Well,
I'm famous. He's talking about us on the radio.
Another story about the Fae, or what I consider to be a Fae experience from the house here, was there was this time a couple weeks ago where my wife Brittany, her phone went missing for like 2 weeks, and we couldn't find it. No matter, we looked everywhere for it, and we just couldn't find it. And it was one of those like XL, bigger screen phones. It has like a flower print case on the back. And I was about to leave for our documentary premiere in Ohio, and I was like, we got to find this because you're going to be home alone. Like, you need your phone. So we did another sweep through, looked everywhere. I looked on the table where the TV is, where we normally sit our phones. I looked behind the piano and under the piano. And I remember looking behind the piano one more time, and then I turned around, and the phone was just sitting right there on the table, like the TV table where I had just looked, sitting right behind this gnome lamp we have, and it was just sitting right in my face. And I was like, really? I like just instantly got chills all over and was like, this is insane. Like, how did this happen? And it was sitting behind this. We found this old gnome lamp from like the 70s, and it's sitting on our table down there. And Brittany was like, maybe they took it because it has the flower case on it. I don't know, but maybe they were trying to figure out what the electronics did, or I don't know what they were doing, but it was a really cool experience to see it just appear right in front of my face where I had just looked. And I know a lot of other people have had similar experiences to that, so that was really cool. And then like out in the woods only a couple miles from my house was where I heard like what people describe as like the samurai chatter. Those like really deep guttural, like weird vocals. It sounds like someone's like a native language or something, and someone's like talking. And I actually caught that on film one night, and you can hear these weird tones and these weird, it's like high pitched squeals and these deep like vocal tones. And that night was that sent chills down my spine as well, because I was out there alone at night, and just hearing these vocalizations out in the woods. So it's a really it's a special place to me, that place that I go. So
It sounds like an active place. If you're having the samurai chatter, that's pretty special stuff. Have you been able to record any of it on audio?
I got that one time. There was another time I heard it and the camera didn't pick it up, but I could hear it. It's like they're always. I go in at this one road and I head like toward where there's. So basically, there's like two roads that go around this big patch of woods that go all the way back, and there's like industrial complexes and things on the outskirts. But I go back in toward the woods, and it's like they're always further back into the woods, whatever's making these sounds, and I can hear it, but I can never get like close enough to it to where like it'll be like one instance of sounds, and then it'll be silent the rest of the time. And that one night, I remember I was live streaming on my YouTube channel, and I live streamed the whole I camped out that night and live streamed for like 11 hours straight. And so people in my chat were hearing these noises too. And it's funny, like before these noises started, I was making some different sounds and stuff and just having fun. And then I started hearing that coming from deeper in the woods. And like you could just see I was like clearly freaked out. But I stood my ground and just stayed and listened. And I'll actually be playing that audio at the conference. So that'll be really cool. And then like that's also the same spot where I captured these like red eyes on when I went back into the size comparison. It looks like whatever it is has like a really large head. And it's like these red eyes, and it just like turns its head away from me. And wherever it was standing, like it was a pretty open area. Like there was no little, like some rodents and things like that can have the red eyes shine. But whatever this was not like hanging off anything. Its head was like bigger than mine when I was standing like pretty close to the camera. So I don't know, but you guys will get to see that as well, and a lot of other cool clips. But what's interesting about this location was that what's interesting about this location is that I started going there to investigate this haunted cemetery that's out there, and it's like this cemetery that has like over 100 unmarked graves. And I'd heard about it, and people were saying like, oh my god, it's like you'll get chased out of there and stuff, all this negative stuff. And like the first night I went there, I was sitting in the car with my friend, and we turned on our tape recorder, and then we heard a voice in the car with us like right at that moment. And you can hear us on the recordings. We're like, did you hear that? Like the voice? Yeah. But when you play the recording back, there's no voice. So it's like we heard the voice, but the recorder didn't pick it up. Then I started going out, and I would hear like things in the woods and chains rattling and things like that. And for a while, I was like freaked out to go too far down into the cemetery. But as the years went on and onward to today, I go deep back in there, and that's when I started finding these strange, like, seems like the trees have been placed in these symbols on the ground, and like weird nest looking structures and things like that. And what was really weird was I would find like these really intricate ones that were like all weaved together in circles, and then they'll be gone the next time I go, or I'll go a couple weeks later and it'll be gone. And I couldn't really wrap my head around how that was possible without something being back there moving it around or changing it. So that whole little area is just really special to me. You got all kinds of stuff going on. So it's really cool.
Well, that is neat. So you've got structures and also glyphs going on back there?
Yeah, I mean, the ones that I normally find on the ground there's like lots of X's all over the ground and around I noticed there's this one border on, it's like it's not like a cliff, but a big decline, and along the border of that decline there would be like big X's along that. And I also found this one that looked like, some people describe it as looking like a dream catcher or something. It's got all these weaved in like little pine trees, and then this one bend around it. And I found this like little bone underneath that too, and I just left all that alone. And I haven't been able to find that one again since I've gone back out there. And then I'll find these like it looks like an A. It'll be like just like an A of sticks placed in like an A shape. And then other ones as well, just weird piles of sticks that they'll be like new fallen trees, and then old ones put on top of it and things like that. Things that I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. So yeah, you got the vocalizations, the strange eye shine, and then also the structures and things. And so it's just a lot going on out there.
Right, exactly.
Disembodied voices and samurai chatter, and one day I was actually hearing like what sounded like just people talking out there too, but I never saw anyone. And once again, it'll start up and then it'll just get quiet and it'll be like nothing. So it'll come in like waves almost.
Well, we're going to take a break right now and go to our commercial break. And I want you to stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back with Alex Bob. Oh, but your house is very active for the puppies and the cats.
My neighbors have like 12 German Shepherds, and then
Oh my.
our cats are like the two that are really vocal are like part Maine Coon, and for some reason they're just like they love to meow like all the time. Just
Well, they are definitely stars, whoever's hollering tonight.
I remember when I did the Loud Blackburn show on my podcast, the dogs were going the whole time. I was like I'm so sorry, man.
What
So
did Lyle do?
He was fine. I mean, I could tell he was tired because he had been, he's busy. So, but I apologize about that. I need to figure something out, but
No worries.
It's like whenever I do shows, they will nonstop just go. So it's like they know.
It's like they know they're getting heard by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You bet.
It's very frustrating. They bark at like 6 a.m. too and wake us up every day.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that.
Sometimes if I just like point out there, even though they can't see me, say it's working.
Thirty seconds.
Thank you so much.
Ten. And roll.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Jen Cruz, and this is the Journey Radio Show. When we are not live on the air, you can find us at thejourneyradioshow.com. And hey, we are the She-Squatchers. Check out our website at SheSquatchers.com. And hey, go check out our events page to see where we're going to be at this year. We're traveling from coast to coast, sharing what we found right here in the Midwest and other places. And so also check out our Facebook page and please give us a like and follow us there because that's where you're going to find the most up-to-date, here's what's going on with us stuff. So tonight we've got our special guest, Alex Bob. He is a paranormal investigator and cryptid researcher, fortean investigator, and radio personality. He's also got documentaries out there on Amazon, so you can check those out as well. So welcome back, Alex Bob.
Thank you.
Yes, we're excited to have you tonight. You and your kitties and your dogs.
They like to be welcome as well. They keep us safe though, like the dogs. Because we do live in kind of a dangerous part of town, but so every neighbor has their little dogs out there.
Oh, that makes sense.
But yeah. But thanks for having me. I've had a blast already.
Yeah.
Ditto. You're awesome. It's so much fun talking to you. In fact, we were talking before the show, and he was talking about something, and I said, "Hey, what's that in the background?" Sorry, I kind of went off subject, but I said, "Well, there's something in the background. What is that?" And he said, "Well, those are my collections." So I was so excited, and I was thrilled because he started telling us what the collection was. Would you mind telling about your collection?
Yeah,
Maybe
definitely.
Some stories.
So behind me, is my little library and collection. I have like a lot of different books about various subjects, but mostly about like spiritual things, spirits and cryptids and things like that. And then also I have like a huge doll collection. Some of them reportedly haunted objects and cursed objects and things that have been used in strange rituals and things like that. And then also different artifacts and things from like locations I've been to, like when I went up to Madison Seminary and filmed the documentary, they had little pieces of bricks that they gave me, and like I've done that for a couple other spots as well. And I always get permission and then add it to my little museum here. But some of the dolls are pretty interesting. Like one of them I have back there is this little Joker doll that was actually used in like a voodoo ritual. That the lady who was using it was like had this person that she didn't like, and she started picking it with pins, and she would like twist its leg, and she had like a noose tied around its neck, and the lady that she was doing it toward actually fell and like hurt her leg really bad. And after that, the lady who was using the doll like felt really bad and got freaked out, and she like sent it to me. She didn't want to have it anymore. And I was like, well, I don't know. It's never good to mess with anything that affects other people and things like that. So, but now I have it in my collection. I just keep it safe back there. I do have one doll that I keep like contained in a little case with sage and salt and like bindings that we call the Malik Doll, which it was found in this house that there had been several overdoses, and it was now sits like abandoned and no one has lived there for a couple of years. And my friend who found it, when he got home, the name Malik kept sticking in his head, and he actually slipped on this little piece of paper when he got home, and he picked it up, and it was like a toy thing from one of his kids' toys, but it said magic on it, but it was spelled M-A, and there was like a J that looked similar to an L, and then I-K. So he felt like that was a sign, and he kept it for a couple weeks. And one day he messaged me and he was like, "Dude, I don't think I want to have this thing anymore in my house. Some things have been going on, some like real negative stuff with his family." And so he sent it to me, and then I still have it here with me, and I keep it in that. I haven't really removed it out of that case. But I did get the name Malik come through my devices when I was doing sessions with it when I first got it. And Malik is actually the name of like a sort of entity or demon that people have written about and things like that. So I don't know if there's actually a connection to this doll or what, but we did get the name and things. The first night that I got it, it arrived at my dad's house, and my dad called me and said that a package had arrived. And when I got there, I started talking to him, and he said he had got like a weird headache, like which wasn't usual for him. And when I pulled up, I remember seeing this like I looked in the basement door, which I didn't know this at the time, but that's where he had sat the box down in the basement for some reason, which was kind of weird too. And I saw this like flesh-colored thing like go in front of the door. And when I told my friend that, he said that was one of the ways that the doll manifested, and that he had seen the same thing in his house. This like flesh-colored like apparition that will walk around, and so I don't know, but that's another one of my weird ones. I've got this one that we've tried to figure out what it wants to be called, and we keep getting the name Mark on our devices when this doll's out. But this one has moved on its own a couple times, and then once I started telling people about it, I haven't seen it move again. But the first time it moved, I had it sitting like this, and it was over here on the side table, and I was like playing a video game one night, and I looked over, and it had turned and was actually like looking right at the screen. And so I figured like maybe it likes watching the computer or something. So then the next day I had it sitting just right in the middle right here like this. I left and I came back home, and it had once again turned all the way back around. So now mostly I just leave it watching the screen, but I've tested it again a few times and nothing's happened. And I've actually noticed that a lot with certain things. It'll happen like 2 or 3 times, and then it won't happen again for a while. So, and with objects like that, it's hard to say if anything actually is haunted or not. That's why I say reportedly haunted. And I'll do certain tests with them and things, but with all that we've already got going on here in this old house, and it's hard to say what causes what, you know. But we do have a lot of. There was a couple weeks ago where like every couple of days I would see like a bright flash of light come from this side of the room. My wife has seen this little miner boy. She says he's like probably like maybe right around 3.5, 4 feet tall. And he's wearing like a miner helmet and everything, and he'll like run through the downstairs where the mining office used to be. And then things like that. I actually saw about the same size, height, shadow figure down there. So maybe I see it as a shadow and she sees it as a little boy. But it was the same height, and we've seen it running back and forth between those rooms. For a while here, we had a cat. Like, we have cats here, but there was another cat we kept seeing that was not a living cat, but we would see it run through our house. And that was pretty cool. We actually had other people see it as well, and like it was just like a couple weeks, and we would just see it like every day we would see it, and then it's just now we haven't seen it in a while. I have one doll over here that's called like a living baby doll. It's basically just from the 70s, and it looks like a real baby. But after I brought that one in the house, Brittany heard a baby crying up in the room up here on 2 occasions, and I was like, you know, are you sure it wasn't just the cats, because they sometimes sound kind of weird? And she was like, no, it was absolutely a baby crying. And she said she would be in this weird like trance feeling, and she would come to and realize that she was hearing a baby crying, so she would like run up here. And there's also been times where I've heard her call my name and she's not even here. She'll hear me call her name. One night I like fell asleep up here, and she came up and was like frantically waking me up, and she said I was like screaming bloody murder, and then when she came up I was just sound asleep. So we have a lot of different stuff going on here all the time, but it's interesting.
Can I ask a question? You said this old house, and with the stories I'm led to believe it's very, very old. Is this house like 100 years old or older?
It's 116, almost 117 years old.
Wow.
It was built in 1902, and it was there's like all the houses on this street that we live on, like the street that we live on was like the mining officers, and like there's a house with like a chapel in it, things like that. And the street behind us was where the workers, there's like smaller houses where the workers would stay, and they called them like mining camps. And it was actually owned by the Minnesota Mining Company. So
Hey,
yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. And they call it it's called Muskota, was what the neighborhood was called. And the reason they called it that was because the Muskogee Native Americans, they found so many arrowheads up here that they named it after them. And so that's another interesting little thing about this place. But yeah, it's there's a house down the street that we thought about buying, but we never did. But it's like we went in there and we had a really weird experience, and we actually had the sulfur smell come up at that house, and it like followed us out to the car. Brittany she has like visions sometimes, and she saw some like weird thing in there that was not, she said it didn't seem human to her, but it was like trying to portray itself as like this lady. And when we got back, she was trying to shake it off, and I had to like lay her down, and I saged her and did a little cleansing for her, and she felt better after that and was able to talk about it. But we don't go down to that house anymore. She won't go back in that house. And so yeah, each house, there's some weird ones on the street, different stuff going on. The one thing that she does say about our house now is that the spirits here, like, they know it's our house, and they respect us. Like, we haven't had anything negative happen here. It's just kind of like we'll see things will happen, we'll hear things. But yeah, it's an interesting place.
It sounds like it. And for those out in Radio Land, he's got quite the substantial doll collection behind him in this room. And I know that dolls can be sometimes a house for a spirit to inhabit for a while. And I can't help but wonder if they like to take turns jumping from doll to doll.
Yeah, I've wondered that too. And like, you know, some people talk about how, you know, like a doll is something that someone might have like a strong attachment to when they're in their living state. And people have even talked about spirits like seeing a doll that reminds them of themselves or reminds them of something and going and following it around, or and I don't know, some of them it might just be just a spirit stopping by. And because I've had this one little clown doll back there for the longest time, it would like always fall off the shelf and be on the ground, and it's like this like sad clown. He's got like a sad face and everything, and you know, I always felt bad that he was always just falling on the ground, and it hasn't happened in a while. But oh my gosh, but that was another interesting one. I even have one shelf back there that I've kind of dedicated to like fae. I have little fairy statues and gnomes, and then also I leave offerings as well for everything. I have places where I leave coins, and I'll burn certain incense and things like that. And
do you happen to have any Bigfoot shelves?
I don't have like a specific Bigfoot shelf. I do have like a cryptid bookshelf, and I do have little Bigfoot things. Like I have a lot of Bigfoot posters, and like I've got a bag from the Monster Mart and Falk right up here, and Bigfoot air freshener. Bigfoot's kind of like completely mixed. There's like the poster from the Tennessee Bigfoot up in the corner there. Bigfoot's kind of like mixed into it all. And like right behind my computer, I have another Bigfoot painting and a Loveland frog and a Hopkinsville goblins and a little Yeti. So just kind of mixed in all together into this. So it's kind of this is like my office and my special little room, and it's definitely an interesting place. And actually right behind me in the room back behind this door is where the old servants' quarter was. And then I did have one, it's not like a negative experience, but it was just, I went up into my attic one day to put the Christmas tree up, like after the holidays and everything. And I remember like I poked my head up in there, and I'm like, you know, I'm always a pretty brave person. You know, I'll go out into the woods alone at night, and I'll go into crazy buildings alone. But when I poked my head up there, it felt like something like just shot me with like instant fear, and I like had to jump out of the attic real quick. And then I started hearing about like the legends of like boo hags and things that like to live up in the attic. So I don't know if there's something up there, but I'm gonna kind of force myself to get up there eventually and see what's up there. I haven't really gone up there since then.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
I don't know, Jen, would you go up there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As long as I wouldn't fall through.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I'd try it, but you know, I can understand how scary it is, you know, just popping your head, and especially if you felt like that the first time when you popped up your head, and that'd be really freaking scary. You know what I mean?
There's been like a handful of times where I felt like, I'm trying to think how to explain it. I felt like something was like pushing like fear into my mind, or like trying to make me feel this like pure terror feeling. And one of the other places that happened at was this, there's like this old abandoned hospital downtown that's like 10 stories tall, and I felt it in there too, and I've smelt the sulfur in there. And personally, I think there is something negative in that place. Teenagers have done like all kinds of weird rituals and things in there, and there's been people getting stabbed in there and things like that. So there's just a lot going on in that place, and I don't know, there's something weird in there that can make you feel some pretty bad feelings and things like that. So, but maybe it's, you know, with that stuff too, you never know. I mean, maybe it's something trying to make you feel something that it once felt, and it's trying to like, I don't know, I'm trying to think how to describe. Maybe it was someone who was scared, and I'm just picking up on their their feelings as well. But I don't know.
As a medium, I'm going to just let you know that sometimes spirits will come and they will want me to experience what they experienced so they can basically tell their story.
Yeah.
And once I understand that they're telling their story, then they feel better and they're more likely to move on because they shared their story. But when you were first talking about that doll and your dad had a headache that was unusual for him, right before you said that, I was feeling this strange sensation on the back of my head, a headache that came right away right here, and it almost felt like somebody was squeezing the back of my head. And it was just until you said, and then my dad had a headache, and then it was gone. So is that how he kind of described the headache to feel?
Yeah, I mean, he just, like, I remember I came and saw him, and he just told me, like, that he had this weird headache. I don't remember exactly, like, I'll have to ask him where it was, like, in his head, but he's not really a believer in any of this kind of stuff. So for him to, like, kind of bring that up was kind of weird. And since I've been doing this and he's watched some of my, like, things that I've caught, and he definitely is, like, more interested in it and has and I'll always bring over, like, Dad, remember that time we were driving when I was a kid and we actually saw this like craft in the sky that literally reminded me of, like, the spaceship from Space Jam that, like, the little aliens were riding. Like, it looked like something out of a cartoon, and he saw it too. And, like, I'll always bring that up and he'll be like, yeah, that was weird. And I was like, yeah. And then the time we saw these like 3 hooded figures in this graveyard, which is, it's only like probably 10 miles from here. And I had like this reoccurring dream where I would wake up and I'd go to my window and they would be standing outside my window and, like, point up at me. But me, him, and my mom all saw that happen, like, when we drove past this graveyard. And so, you know, I think he also kind of freaks him out maybe, so maybe he just doesn't want to really talk about it or be around it. But there's been times too, we'll be at his house and one of the lights will like turn on or off, and he'll be like, you know, he'll just make up something. He'll be like, it was just a fuse or something. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. But so it's cool. He definitely supports what I do though, and another thing I forgot to say earlier about getting involved in all this stuff, when my mom passed away in 2012, that was some things happened surrounding that too that made me want to start getting more involved with this kind of stuff. And just some like the day she went missing for a few days, and the day that I believe she passed away, my tire exploded. And I remember I tried to call her like right after that, and she never answered. But I felt like somehow that was her trying to let me know like something was wrong. And then a few months after she passed away, I had this it was like one of my first like little ghost hunting like kits, and it had like a motion detector. And I hadn't even taken the motion detector, like I hadn't used it at all yet. I had batteries in it and I had it sitting in the box. And I went out one night and I came back home and it was in the box and it was just going off like in the box. But then once again, her neighborhood was built on top of some old something, because there was old cemeteries in people's backyards. My little brother didn't ever want to stay there. He would see things there. So I never really, I'm not a medium or anything, so I have a hard time differentiating what's going on with so much different stuff that happens sometimes. So it's fun though. I don't know. I enjoy the way that my life's gone and the experiences and adventures and everything that's happened so far.
Well, they obviously enjoy communicating with you, and you have a very laid-back energy too, so I can see where they would feel comfortable in coming to you and trying to communicate.
Yeah, so. I mean, and one thing I like to do is sometimes mix that. Like I'll go, like I have one of my friends who's like super high energy and super just completely opposite of me, and we'll go out together and have some amazing experiences. And then I like collaborating with people a lot too, and just seeing what happens at very different places. So
very cool. Well, Jena's got a whole arsenal of ghost hunting equipment, just so you know.
That's awesome.
I was at her house last week or whatever to pick up some of the equipment because Tammy and I were going on a trip without her up into northern Minnesota. We were gonna meet up with Lauren Coleman up there, and
That's
so we
awesome.
wanted to bring certain equipment along. And so I went over to Jena's, and she had her whole arsenal out. She's like, "Do you want any of this stuff?" And she pulls out an SB11, an SP7, and then another one that's an off-brand. I'm like, "Why do you have all the same thing? It does the same thing."
I've got a nice little collection of the spirit boxes as well. I like having different ones because different ones, they'll sound differently, like depending on where you're at. I don't know, there's just different times. Like sometimes I'll be feeling one, I'll be like, I want to use this one here. And I've got some like custom made ones and things like that. And just, I do a lot of the ITC. That's like one of my main things. My two main things I usually say would be like that spirit communication through ITC devices, and then Bigfoot investigations. So those are my two like favorite things.
So have you ever used a spirit box and asked the spirits questions about Bigfoot?
I have, and I've actually gotten one clip where it says Bigfoot through the spirit box. And I remember it said something about primal, and it said I was also getting some weird, like, darker messages coming through. I was in that cemetery that's outside of the forest where I heard the samurai chatter and things like that. And it was saying some sad things as well. Like I can't remember exactly what, but I'll have to send you guys the link. And I think I will be showing some of those clips as well at the like basically my presentation is going to be some Bigfoot clips and some paranormal clips, and then talking a little bit about the Fae and talking a little bit about the Alabama white thing, which we didn't even get to go into tonight, but that's a whole nother.
Wow.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah, we're almost to the end of the show. Do you have a website that people could check out or links to anything?
So my website that I do have, I haven't done too much to update it lately, but I plan on doing that soon, is www.spectralwolfpack.com. spectralwolfpack.com, and then you can find me YouTube if you search for Spectral Wolfpack or Bigfoot Bob, and then on Amazon Prime with the Madhouse, a paranormal documentary.
Awesome. Which I stumbled upon seeing.
That's great to hear. It's awesome.
Always fun to look up at the TV and go, "Hey, I know that guy." It's happened before.
Yeah.
Where I was watching. I turned around and looked at the TV, and Josh Hurd is on there. I'm like, I know that guy. That's Josh Hurd.
Yeah, it's always great, especially at the conferences when you see them and you're like, oh my God, like there they are.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I love it.
Yeah. So, well, I want to thank you again for coming on the show tonight, and we're going to see you in just a few weeks.
Thank you.
Get to hang out and hopefully meet your wife. So, say hi to
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Next week, I think we've got somebody from a Minnesota Bigfoot researcher back on the show. So make sure you tune in next Wednesday to the Journey Radio Show. Good night, everyone.
Good night.